Well, hello everybody. Welcome once again to the Van Buren Variety Show. I am Bob Van Buren, your host. Always glad you're here, whether you are one of my regulars that tune in live each week or the ones that are just new to the show. Welcome again. Glad you're here. Tell you all about the show real quickly. It is a variety show, and it's just what it says. Every week, I individual a very interesting guest about an equally interesting topic. It could be the person's profession. It could be a hobby. It might be a how-to segment. Might even have some musical instruments coming in. So you never know what you're going to get. So hence the word variety. Every week, like I said, you don't know what you're going to get. But there is a way to know what you're going to get if you hit that subscribe button. See that subscribe button down there? If you haven't already done that, hit that subscribe button and you'll get updates from my show, contacts on future guests, and maybe some future topics. And I also have my email address at the very end of the show. So if you have a special talent that you'd like to share with everybody, you can email the show and I can absolutely arrange for you to be on the show. Or if you know somebody that has a talent, has written a book, or has a special interesting profession that you think they would like to share with the world, that email will come back, will come out at the end of the show. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the show. And if you like the video and you like the guest tonight, there is a like button there. So just don't watch and go away. If you like it, hit that like button as well as hitting the subscribe button. I'm sure my guests will appreciate that. I hope you've all had a great week so far. And I got some special news for you, for those of you that have been following me on this show. There is a chance, if you want, that you can meet me in person. That's coming up at the end of this week. Now, for those of you that are watching this days, weeks, months, I don't want you to start planning anything, because let me give you the date. The actual date you can meet me at this convention is on Saturday. That'll be October the 15th, 2022. Okay, so that's the date. This Saturday, October 15th, 2022, I will be in Jefferson, Texas. There will be a Bigfoot convention there at the Jefferson Visitor Center. I will be there along with the host of Texas Front Porch, in which I have appeared on this show, or appeared on that show many times. I've helped them being the producer on their show. So we will be there this weekend, October 15th, 2022, at the Bigfoot Convention in Jefferson, Texas. And we will also be at a restaurant in Marshall, Texas, that same Saturday at 6:30 p.m. It's called the Jalapeno Tree. Okay, the Jalapeno Tree, Marshall, Texas, Saturday, October 15th at 6:30 p.m. You can meet me, yours truly, Bob Van Buren of the Van Buren Variety Show, as well as all the people you have probably seen before in other YouTube channels, including Texas Front Porch and the Serial Papers. So make sure you want to meet me. You probably know some of you are probably thinking, why would I want to meet Bob Van Buren? Well, if you don't want to meet me, there's other people, YouTubers, that you can meet there. So hopefully I would love to see some of my audience, people that have tuned in week after week, month after month, and over a year now. So this will be a good time for me as well to meet some of my fans. So anyway, let's go on to tonight's topic. Now, we have a very interesting topic now. It's all about cats, and here is my visual aid. Yeah, this is Oreo, and she was feral, and she was a stray, and I have adopted her, and she is officially my cat now. And normally I don't let her in the studio when I'm doing a show, but since this is about cats, I thought this is my perfect visual aid here. Now, Oreo's a good little kitty cat. But like I said, she was wild when I first adopted her. She's tame now, as you can see here. But unfortunately, the tomcats got to her before I did. So about a month after I took her in, I got this. And I know you probably can't count them all, but there are 7 kittens. Yes, I said 7 kittens in that pile. This was taken the day they were born. So yeah, she was feral, but like again, the tomcats decided to have a little more rendezvous with her before I took her in the house. But hey, luckily, success story, all the kittens were adopted. They all have good homes. And so I was glad about that. But now, taking in a cat, I mean, sometimes cats have a mind of their own. They all do. Sometimes cats and humans don't actually mesh. Sometimes cats can be quite mischievous, like this cat here. Yeah, might want to keep the bathroom door closed next time if your cat does that. Closing the bathroom door probably one good thing among many. But now sometimes cats can really, really be mean. Here's a personal story. Sorry, Oreo, I got to tell a bad story on you. Look at these chairs and look specifically to your left, each one. Looks like some little frayed material there. Yeah, that would be claw marks. That would be a cat sharpening her claws on the chairs. And that caused a little bit of a problem. And there's still those other cats that can be downright evil, like this one. So what do you do when you have a cat that you really love and you want it to be a passive little kitty cat, a nice pet like this or this, but they turn out like this? Well, don't get rid of the cat. Don't be mean to the cat. There's just some behavior problems right now in that cat. And maybe there can be some kind of a compromise, which is tonight's topic. It's called Cat Behavior Solutions. And I have an expertise person about that topic. So let me bring her in now. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Molly Devoss of Cat Behavior Solutions. If you've got a problem cat or somebody you know has a problem cat, this is the person you want to talk to. So Molly, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Thank you for having me on tonight, Bob.
Okay, when we talk about cat behavior solutions, or should I say cat correction, how would you kind of define that?
Well, it's probably more like cat behavior solutions, because usually what's going on is the cats are doing what comes natural to them, but it's not acceptable to us. So, really the science behind what I do is figure out why the cat's behaving the way it is, and then help you with remedies to make you both happy. So the cat can exhibit its natural behaviors, like clawing up your chairs, but not your chairs, and you be happy because it's now clawing something else and not your chairs. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
Okay. How long have you been in this field? How long have you pursued this career?
Oh, goodness. I started Cat Behavior Solutions in 2017, so not that long. And but I've been working with cats primarily in shelters for decades.
Oh, decades. That's great to hear. So do you see mostly, like I said, I took my cat in because she was feral. Do you see more behavior issues for a cat that was feral or a cat that has been tame, or does it matter if it's raised feral or raised tame?
Cats, so here's the main issue is that cats have a sensitive development period that's very short and very early in their lives. So it's between 3 and 7 weeks of age. Okay. Whatever a cat does not encounter during that sensitive development period, it's going to be uncomfortable with later in life. So if it's people or if it's never seen another adult cat, those kinds of things, then those things are going to really upset it later in life. So a lot of times we're dealing with that, what really happened to the cat in its developmental, very young developmental time. And then a lot of times we're dealing with issues where the owners just aren't providing the resources that the cat or cats in the household need in order for them to be able to exhibit their natural behaviors properly.
I see. Well, let's go back to mine. Now, you solved my issue, but just for my audience here that may be having a similar issue, I know cats have claws, and they want to sharpen them. So what do you say to a person whose cat is doing this to either their chair, their couch, bed, whatever? What would you say to that?
Yeah, well, first, understand why the cat's doing it, right? Cats, they do get their nails sharpened by doing it, but that's not the primary reason that they're doing it. The real reason they're doing it is because it's a territorial gesture. They have little scent glands between their toes, and the visual claw marks that they leave behind are both territorial markers. See, cats are extremely territorial creatures. In the wild, And I say that a lot because they have a 96% DNA link to their wildcat ancestors still.
Mm-hmm.
So in the wild, they live alone. They're solitary. They don't have a social hierarchy. They don't live in packs and
Yeah,
things
they
like
prefer
that.
the solo life.
Exactly. And so they use those claw marks, that scent and that visual lines to tell neighboring cats, this is my territory.
Sorry.
Don't you come in here. And those are fucking cats who never apologize for one going in front of the screen. That's great. And so, first of all, you have to understand that it's a territorial gesture. And then secondly, you have to understand that cats also get a backstretch, a very important, needed backstretch. So they've got to be able to reach way up, which is why dining room chairs are frequently the target of that particular clawing. And the big, what people do wrong most of the time is they get those little bitty cat trees, that are about a foot tall.
You mean yeah,
And they're not tall enough for a cat to be able to get a full body stretch scratching. So the cat looks at that and it looks at your dining room chair and it goes, well, heck, I'm going for the dining room chair.
See, you brought up a good point. That's what I was reaching down to get. I got this for my cat at PetSmart, but see, it lies on the floor. It doesn't go up. So
Right.
She was still clawing the chairs. But
Right.
You explained to me when we talked earlier that, this might be good, but they want to stretch up, and this they can't on this one.
That's true. Now some prefer horizontal. Yeah, each cat's a little different in that regard. And so I would say provide both. Make sure you've got a good long horizontal scratching surface and a nice tall one. I have one right over here. There it is over my shoulder. You can see how
Yes,
tall that
I
is.
see it.
It's about 40 plus inches tall. That's as tall as they need to be, really tall, so that cat can really go at it, or really wide, flat on the floor. So that's the common thing, is understanding why they do it. And they're really not set out to destroy your home. That's not their goal at all. Their goal is to mark territory. So scratching happens in multi-cat households much more often than single cat households. And it happens a lot when your cat sees other cats outside. So if your cat's seeing stray cats outside, it's probably crawling up the furniture that's closest to that window or door where it's seeing other cats.
We have a comment from the audience that I'll bring up. It kind of goes along with what we're saying now. Sandra Piper is saying, our cat is destroying one of my couches. So what would you suggest to Sandra?
Sandra, you'll need several things. First of all, if you have multiple cats, that's a lot of the reason, because again, they're making little gestures to each other. This is mine. Basically, this is mine. But I absolutely suggest that you get a very, very, very tall scratching post, assuming that the cat's destroying the back of the couch and not the cushions. So make sure it's nice and tall, at least as tall as your couch, or taller if you can. And then what you'll want to do is put a deterrent on the back of the couch. Now, what I mean by that is it could be, they make these plastic, like, rug coverings. You go to the hardware store and they have little spikes in the bottom.
Yes.
You can take that and you can cut it and you can put it spikes out, and you can put little upholstery screws in the corner so it doesn't hurt your couch. And then the cat goes, oh, I don't want to scratch on that. That's all pokey. Or you can use a product that's called My Luna, which is a plastic that has a peel and stick back to it. You can cut it to the shape. So you use a deterrent, and then you have the scratching post. You can't just use a deterrent, because the way cats learn is you can't tell a cat no.
Yeah, that's right. They don't understand that.
You've got to show a cat what you want it to do instead. So you have to go, not that, this. And you have to make sure that when you're using a deterrent, that it goes hand in hand with an appropriate expression of the cat's behavior that it's trying to express. So you can't stop a cat from clawing and scratching things. It has to. It needs to. Yeah. It's very important for its back, its claws, its self. It's to say, hey, this is me. I'm here, and this is my scent. It has to be able to do that. So if you're not providing adequate alternatives, then it will use your couch. Now, I will say that if your couch is like completely shredded, once a cat gets going on something, it's really hard to retrain it not to do that. But it's always worth a shot.
Sure.
Always worth a shot.
We have a suggestion from the audience. Let's see if you agree or disagree with this. What you were just talking about, how to resolve the cat scratching on the couch or the table or the chairs. Gary Spike says, cover your table legs with carpet all the way up. Works. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's brilliant for making your own scratching posts. Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to buy store-bought scratching posts. You can absolutely make your own. You can make your own, and the bigger the better, and the taller and longer and wider, your cat's going to be happier. The more scratching surface you get in, the better. We live in New Mexico, and so our porches out here are called portals, and there are
Port Charles,
portals, right? And there are big 12-inch round, what we call vigas, that are holding the portal up. So I covered one. I got outdoor carpet from Home Depot and covered it all the way up, all 10 feet of it. My cat goes out on a harness and leash. She's not a free roaming outdoor cat. And he goes out there and he scratches on it, and then he just climbs all the way to the top of it, and he loves it. So yeah, I think your cat is going to love you for covering your table legs in carpet. That's a great idea.
Well, Sandra, the one that told you earlier that she was, the cat still clawing the chair, clawing the couch. She has a follow-up comment on that. She says, I have a huge cat palace and sleep tower that reaches the ceiling, but I assume the cat is still using the couch.
So sometimes that's because of the location. So again, remember, your cat is making a mark that is territorial. So if you have multiple cats, there might be some dynamics going on with them, that area, that place where the cat is actually important to the cat. Or again, it may be sitting in front of a window or door where the cat's seeing another cat outside. So I would suggest getting another cat tree, something simple, kind of like what I have, that's just a straight post, and putting that next to the sofa with the deterrents, because for some reason your cat likes that location better than where you've put the cat tree.
Now, I've heard these on television. I'm sure you've had experience too. I'll say Jane Doe. Okay, she's single and she has a cat. Maybe it's just been her, but all of a sudden she gets a boyfriend, and later on a fiance, maybe jealous. Cat will not accept boyfriend or husband, and it actually gets aggressive. How do you resolve, again, have you seen cat jealousy, I guess you could say?
Well, it's not really jealousy. No. Again, remember that cats are highly territorial. And so depending on what a cat has experienced in its life, if Jane has not had a lot of people in the house and cat hasn't had a lot of exposure to different people, then new people coming in are going to be change. Cats hate change. All right. Cats love routine, predictability. A cat needs to think that it's in control of its environment, completely in control all the time of everything. A dog has a social hierarchy, and a dog understands you're in control. A cat does not. A cat thinks it's in control of its areas. So you have to recognize that something new in the environment is going to kind of upset the cat a little bit. And when you bring a new person in, that person needs to go out of their way to bond with the cat. So I always say boyfriend, fiancés, husbands, new people, have that person feed the cat, have that person give treats to the cat, have that person play with the cat with wand toys, so that the cat learns, oh, this is the one I can trust and rely on, and someone that's associated with good things. Otherwise, the cat, has no idea what that person's there for or why, really.
It's like cats do not like change. Not the person, it's just the change.
Yeah, they don't like change at all. No change. It's hard to change their food. It's, when you go away, and we saw a lot of this during COVID in both ways. At the beginning of COVID, as people were spending more time at home, there were cat behavior issues cropping up because the cat's like, wait a minute, you usually go to work and you're like not here 8 hours a day, and now you're here all day long. And then the reverse happened. Of course, when everybody started going back to work, we had some separation anxiety and things like that to deal with. So they really don't like change. They like things to be very constant and consistent and the same.
Of course, now cats, of course, need stimulation. They like to play like everybody else. So I will give you, this is one of Oreo's favorite toys. She will bat that around. And our little game that we have is I throw it. And now it's almost like a dog. Now, she don't fetch it. But if I throw it, she will chase it, and she'll bat that around. And that it'll occupy her for about maybe 3 minutes. And then she wants to come back in my lap. So what kind of toys, I mean, evidently Oreo likes this one, that you recommend? I even made a little string toy. Now, see, she's watching me back there.
Now that's a good one. So the most important toy you can have your cat is a wand toy. And
a wand toy?
A wand toy. So it's a wand, and I should have brought props. But it's a wand with a string, and then it's got a toy on the end, a mouse with feathers or something like that. She doesn't even look real over your shoulder. It's very cute.
I know. She keeps watching this toy. So,
it's a little puppet, right?
She's like, what are you doing with my toy?
And the reason why wand toys are so important, like the one that you made with the string and the toy on the end, is because in the wild, they will spend 6 hours a day hunting. So when we bring a cat indoors and a cat lives indoors all day long, it's got a lot of pent up energy from that energy it's not expending hunting. It lives inside, you serve it its meal, it doesn't have to work for the dinner. And so when we can prey play, so we pretend we're the prey with the wand toy, and we make it go out of sight and pop it up and let them catch it and stuff like that, that's simulating a hunting experience. And that's super important for cats. Very, very, very important that they be able to simulate that hunting experience.
They're natural predators.
Yeah. Oh, they are absolutely natural predators. Natural born killers. They are.
I'm going to ask you, now Gary suggested that. Now, I don't have one of these. Do you have that says they like laser lights also?
Ooh, careful with that one. And here's why.
Okay.
They do like laser lights because they like to chase. That's part of the hunting sequence. So that natural hunting sequence is stalk, hunt, catch, kill, eat, right?
Yes.
So the laser will allow the stalk, hunt, chase, but they don't really catch it because they can't deliver that kill bite.
Oh, yeah, right?
Now, when a cat delivers a kill bite, it's actually getting a serotonin boost in its brain, which is really important for behavior and mood control and things like that. And so because they can't catch that laser light, it can really make a cat very frustrated and upset that it hasn't really been able to complete that hunting experience. So I by far recommend wand toys where there's something physical on the end that the cat can actually catch and bite. And you guys, it's not a keep away game. You got to let the cat catch the wand.
Let it have it.
And bite it. Now, if you insist on using lasers, then at least toss it a treat. When the cat runs and then catches the laser, toss a treat. So have a pocket full of treats while you're doing the laser game. That will help. That'll help. But really, wand toys are much, much better than laser lights. I don't use laser or recommend laser with cats.
And I don't know if you can see that, but I'm actually getting claw marks on my back. I wonder why.
I can see that.
So,
you have a toy back there?
Yeah, she loves to play with this thing. So that's, here I paid money for this one, and she likes it, but she loves the simple string toy that I made.
Yes.
Just, and I'll run around the house with it, and she loves to chase it. Now, you said that you're with cat rescue. How do you like rescue? I mean, I must name this up, like feral cats or maybe cats that's in a bad home. like a hoarder or something? And do you rescue? I mean, what kind of rescues have you done?
Well, I work with shelters primarily.
Shelters. Okay.
And I like to work with municipal shelters. So your city pound, basically. And the reason is because shelter euthanasia is still the #1 cause of death in cats. And the problem is cats come into the shelter, and again, they're highly territorial creatures. So they're in a new environment. Things are all different. There's a bunch of cats around, and oftentimes they don't behave well. Even a cat that behaved great at home may not behave well in a shelter. And those cats often get euthanized. So I go to shelters and I teach the staff and the volunteers how to work with behavior cats to bring them around and make them trust us more, and and become more adoptable. They begin to let us touch them and those kinds of things. And those cats can be outdoor community cats who have never had human socialization, or they can be someone's cat that's lived in a home and is just so out of sorts by being in the shelter that they're behaving poorly. So either way, my deal in shelters are the aggressive cats, and those are the ones I deal with.
And I'm sure you probably agree that it's very, very important, to get those cats, spayed or neutered.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. I mean, that's, we have over 7 or 8 million cats living on the streets. It's a ridiculous number. And they're very resilient creatures. So there's a part of that that's okay. Right? It's okay. You don't have to feel like you have to take every cat that you find on the street in and find it a home. It's okay if it's lived outside its whole life. It can stay out there. In fact, most municipal shelters these days are doing what we call return to field, right? Which
I've
means,
heard of that. Yes.
right? Someone will bring in a stray cat from the community, and if the cat is not social in the shelter, and a lot of shelters are just returning all stray cats that come in to the address that they were found. First of all, if they're friendly, they probably belong to someone. It's probably like Oreo. You let Oreo outdoors, and someone may be thinking, oh, Oreo is living outside and it's a friendly cat. It should have a home, not knowing that, she has a perfectly good home. So they may take it to the shelter. And so that happens a lot, and we want to get those cats back home as quickly as possible. And then the ones that are truly unsocial need to get back to their colony. And the reason for that is it's a lot like a koi pond. You know how koi will grow to the size of the pond and the amount of resources?
Yeah.
Same is true with a colony of cats. So if you remove cats from the colony, more will move in. So by simply taking them, spaying and neutering them and returning them, then we're keeping the colony intact, which is much healthier for the cats. But they're very resilient. We have, community cats, coast to coast in all kinds of weather and conditions. So they really do just fine. They really do.
On cats, the shelters that you've worked with, how many cats would you say on average are there, like on a daily basis? I know it fluctuates, but
it does. It depends on the shelter, time of year, all of that. But a large city shelter can have hundreds of cats.
Hundreds. Oh,
hundreds
wow.
on site. I think we have about 250 to 300 in the Albuquerque shelter right now, and that's mostly because they are not yet sending all those community cats back to the community. So we've got a process where we're behavior assessing them, and if they display affiliative behavior, then we'll keep the cat for adoption. So there's a lot of stray cats there. And then shelters like Dallas, where I work with Dallas a lot too, they take back every cat that comes in that isn't owned. And so there's very few cats in the Dallas shelter, actually. And that's really the model that we need to get to in all communities.
I have some other comments I want to share with you, but now some cats that's not destructive, but they're just a little mischievous. I showed this picture at the very beginning. What would you say to someone who has a cat that likes to do this?
Yes. Well, Here's what I have to say about that. So cats, cats, cats are actually wired genetically with a very low thirst drive, and that's they get most of their hydration from the food they eat, which is birds and rodents and things like that.
Yes.
They have
Hmm.
about 75% moisture content. So when I see cats drinking a lot of water, it's because they're probably on a dry food diet and they're dehydrated,
I
right?
see.
And then the other thing that we don't do is we take for granted how often we need to clean those water bowls. Have you ever picked up your cat's water bowl and felt the bottom and it's
It's
slimy?
real sliding.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's bacteria growing in the water bowl, and that's because they have a lot of bacteria in their mouth. So when they drink, they get some of that backwash into the bowl, and then that begins to grow bacteria on the bowl itself, and it gets slimy. And so you really should be scrubbing out your cat's water bowl daily and replenishing it with fresh water. So I think that, and when I see a cat drinking out of a toilet, kind of like, yeah, you probably should go ahead and actually leave the seats up so that it can drink where maybe that water is actually fresher than what's in their bowl,
Almost like in a way it's kind of reversed. When you got to go, you got to go.
and you push the cat out of the way.
Exactly. I'll show some comment. People just kind of comment on their own about the cats and even feral cats. Strangeland said, I just fed my cat and the outdoor cats that no one owns, a male named Fred and a pregnant female cat, that sounds familiar, showed up and is sharing his house cat. I need a name her. Well, Strangeland, I hope you find a name for the cat. And it's like you've got some kittens on the way too.
Yeah. It's very important to get them spayed and neutered, really is, because it's, even though they thrive in an outside climate, I wouldn't say that that's the best life for them. Obviously, they don't live nearly as long when they're strictly outdoor cats like that than they do if they have a home. And so that's the big thing. There will be people in your community that will have spay and neuter, low cost spay and neuter, and a lot of them will even come out and help you trap them. There's humane traps, and you just put food in there, and then once they go in to eat the food, and the door closes, and you take that off to the people that will spay her and that kind of thing. So yeah, I strongly recommend getting all your community cats spayed and neutered as soon
I
as
agree.
possible. Yeah.
Jean Hudson has a heartwarming story too. She says, I feed 2 outside cats, been feeding them 11 years,
Wow.
starting 12 years next month. Neighbors threw them out the door. I couldn't see them starve.
Oh, that's such a sad story. Bless you, Jean, for taking care of those cats. Yeah.
I got to ask you, Jean, have you had any kittens? Are they, any pregnancy?
If they're 11 and 12 years old, they're probably spayed and neutered, I would guess.
I hope so, Jean. Otherwise, you'll be coming out your ears and kittens. So,
yeah. Usually by the time they're 11 and 12, they're not reproducing any longer. Okay. They're kind of like us. Their hormones recede as they get older, and then they're not actually able to reproduce after a certain age.
And Sandra says, our cat loves to patrol our pool area, which is screened in.
Perfect. That is one of the best things you can do for your cat. We call it a catio.
A catio.
And you enclose an area and roof it so that the cat has a great outdoor space to roam in that's safe from predators. And so we put a cat door in ours so he can go out in his catio at any time, and there's all kinds of climbing apparatus in there, and he loves it out there. He goes out there all times of the day and night, and I know he's safe. And that's one of the best things you can do for a cat, because cats, like we said, need to be able to play and simulate that hunting experience while they're indoors, but they also need mental stimulation. That's
Absolutely.
super, super important. They got to have problems to solve and things to figure out, because they're not getting that indoors, and those can be things like food puzzles, hiding food. We do treat toss, where I'll throw a treat and it'll go under the curtains or under that he has to kind of figure out, how am I going to get that out of there? So yeah, you've got to give them problems to solve. They are intellectual little creatures, and we do need to keep their minds stimulated as well as their bodies healthy.
I have a lady that I work with, and she does certain for her cat, or like if her cat misbehaves, she has, well, let me back up. She's got a wall unit with a lot of breakable trinkets on it. The cat wants to get on there, but she bought these little empty spray bottles from Home Depot, and she put water in it. So every time the cat even goes against it, she sprays the cat with the water. Do you think that's a good teaching tool, or no? Do you think the
No,
cat will? No.
no.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the reason why is because
It runs away, of course,
well, yeah, of course. But the cat is doing what's natural to the cat. It wants to climb. Cats like to climb. They like to explore. They want to get in those little cubbies. And so the cat is just doing what's natural. So back to the how you train cats, you go, not this, but that. And so the problem with squirting with water or yelling or things like
Mm-hmm.
that is they associate that punishment with you. And then they
Oh,
become afraid of you because you're predictable all the time. You kind of have a predictable personality.
easygoing most of the
And
time, maybe.
all of a sudden, the cat's like, I'm doing what comes natural. I'm trying to explore and climb. And then you just became all unpredictable. So the cat's not afraid of the water. The cat's afraid of you. And even though it
Mm.
dislikes the water, it's more disliking of the fact that you're being not normal. And then it begins to erode your relationship with the cat. And the cat begins to distrust you. So you've got to use other deterrents that aren't associated with you. Now, there's a great remote control noisemaker thing I like to use. So
Okay.
I was teaching my cat not to get on a particular kitchen island. I put the remote control over there, and then I kept the button. And as soon as he got up there, I could push the button, and the noise
Mm-hmm.
would go off over there. He didn't know it came from me. He had no idea that that came from me. And he learned, oh my gosh, every time I get up here, there's that loud noise. I'm not getting up there anymore. And there's all kinds of things. There's a sonic mat that emits a high pitched noise when the cat
Mm-hmm.
steps on it. There's air cans, like those high pressure dust cans you use on your keyboards. There are those that are motion activated. I love her. Look at her.
She's like, Bob, get off this channel and pet me.
It's too cute. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of remote, deterrents that you can use that don't come from you and don't stem from you. So those are much, much, much more. I have a podcast actually. So speaking of podcasts, I host a weekly podcast called Cat Talk Radio.
Okay. Cat Talk Radio. All right.
And we're coming up on our 200th episode. I've created a huge
Congratulations.
Thank you. Huge library of free cat behavior and cat care information, and I interview lots of interesting people on there as well. And it's all audio, it's podcast, so you can listen to it while you're working out. And there are several, and there is one podcast on how to punish your cat. Right? At what punishment, what works, and what doesn't. So I encourage you to look for that.
Okay. Now, just go back to my coworker. She wants that cat to stay away from these trinkets on that one. So, would you suggest maybe a cat tree or just something that would get the cat away from that wall unit?
Need to climb. And let me show
Okay.
you what we did with ours. So
Okay.
I showed you that cat tree or the little scratching post earlier.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
And it leads up to steps, right? That go
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
He's up there laying in his bed.
I see the cat laying up there above the window. Yeah. Wow.
That's like 10 feet off the ground. So he gets up there because we can't reach him. It's a safe zone for him. He feels comfortable up there. And yeah, you need to create an alternative. Remember, this, not that. So create something that the cat can climb in, or get an enclosed curio cabinet. I always had one of those corner glass doors where all my little breakable trinkets that were precious, I put in there where the cat couldn't get inside it. Because at the end of the day, cats are going to be cats. And, they might just find those trinkets too tempting. The other thing you have to watch out for is that cats are masters at cause and effect. So if a cat wants your attention, it will do something naughty just to get your attention.
Oh,
So
wow.
if the cat is going up there, cat's feeling bored and you haven't paid enough attention to it today, and it finds out that it goes up there and starts messing with your trinkets, and then you go, oh, quit, stop, and squirt it and all that. Well, the cat's gotten your attention, even though it's bad
It was
attention.
bad. Attention is better. Bad attention is better than no attention, basically.
They're just like toddlers. They are just like toddlers. So be careful that, you are not rewarding bad behavior. That's a very common
Okay.
thing.
I'm going to put your website up as well as give you one of the visual, show my audience one of the visual aids you gave me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have, cat behavior issues, or you're just interested in, cat behaviors overall, if you know someone that's going through stuff, I highly recommend you visit her website. Let me bring your website up, Molly. So, okay, here's your website, ladies and gentlemen. It's www.catbehaviorsolutions.org. So, Molly, I'll let you take it from here. If people go to your website there at catbehaviorsolutions.org, what all information will they see there?
Oh my gosh, there's lots there. So there's the Cat Talk Radio podcasts we mentioned. I also do a blog. So I'll have things, people will send in questions that, aren't really, don't have enough meat to them to do a whole Cat Talk Radio podcast. So I'll answer that in a blog. And then we've started a new thing called Bonding Tips. And we're doing those pretty frequently. That's fun. And then down in the lower left-hand corner, there's resources and links. And that's where I have lots of products that'll help, like the deterrents that I mentioned. I have the links to Amazon where you can buy those things. And then, of course, introducing cats. That's a huge thing. There's all kinds of stuff there. We have a store where we carry not a huge array of items, but some particular items that are associated with behavior that will help your cat. So you can check out our store, and we're a nonprofit. I don't take a salary out of Cat Behavior Solutions. It's entirely volunteer run and a nonprofit, and every dollar we raise goes to help cats, either in a shelter or in the home of someone who may or may not be able to afford the things that they need to take care of their cat properly.
And you said you also have a podcast that they can link in on this show, right? What was the name of the podcast again?
Cat Talk Radio, and it's at cattalkradio.com.
cattalkradio.com. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check that out. If you don't have a cat, it's very, very interesting. You never know if you have someone that has, cat behavior issues, and hopefully you don't have a cat like that. But in case you do, Molly Devoss here is the person to talk to. And you said before the show, Molly, so I just point this out. Now, this is obviously a cat in a movie, but you said you've actually had to deal with cats like this.
Oh yeah, daily. In the shelter, we see cats like that all the time. Absolutely all the time. And they start out like that, and they look just like that, and they're charging at you and hissing and swatting and trying to bite you, and literally sometimes in just a matter of a week or two, then they're purring and rubbing and rolling all around on your hands. Yeah, I have some very
kind of like this.
Yeah, right, exactly. I have several tried and true methods that I've used in shelters for years that really help cats that feel frightened and insecure and afraid like that, to really feel more trusting. They're so different than dogs. Dogs can absolutely target people as a source of aggression. Cats are more like snakes. If you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. They very rarely, will target someone. In an unusual case, they might, but particularly in a shelter setting, they're really just feeling afraid and just not knowing what's going on and not in control. And, they've been trapped in a small, be like us being abducted by aliens and thrown into a
Yeah.
yeah, it's got to feel a lot like that. So they're just terrified, and if they're aggressive, it's defensive aggression. So understanding that the cat is not mean, the cat
Hmm.
is reacting in a very natural defensive way is a place to start, and then we slowly earn the cat's trust.
I
So
see.
yeah.
Sandra has a kind of a cute story. I'll bring that up, and I'll kind of ask you a question about her comment too. She says, I also have a bird, but the cat knows the bird is off limits.
Oh,
So let me ask you this, Molly. Say that somebody has a cat and they want to bring a bird in. How do they train the cat that bird, that Tweety bird, is family and off limits? How would you do that?
at the end of the day, the cat is always going to think the bird is prey. So I would make sure that the bird is safely secured in
Yep.
a cage, right? I used to have a mouse, and I had it in an aquarium, and my cat loved the mouse. It would go and try to get
Oh,
the mouse, and of course the mouse was secure in there, but it was enrichment for the cat. It was a lot like a laser light, though, and then catch it and get that kill bite in. But it is good enrichment. Cats like to stalk birds. So as long as your bird is safe and not in a place where the cat can actually get it, then they'll probably get along just fine.
See, and then Strangeland, I was allergic to cats and hated them. But 5 years ago, a kitten came out from under my shed, and as I tried to find a home for him, he became my buddy. So
Oh,
now it's me and him living here.
oh,
Oh,
that's a great story. We love it when cats adopt us, right? And so many cats will pick their people like that. And he clearly picked you. So good job.
no, we've been showing, my cats and other people's cat, but I want to talk about this picture. It's you and your cat. Is this the cat that's asleep right now? Where is this at?
Actually, that is his predecessor, Tabasco.
That's
Tabasco,
Tabasco.
Tabasco died just 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
yeah, and we got Pico de Gato.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good. That's original.
I like the spicy red boys. So we have Pico de Gato now, who looks just like him. I really like these red marble tabby
That's
cats.
pretty. He's a pretty cat.
Yeah, yeah.
How old was this cat? Did he live to?
He lived to 16. He had kidney cancer. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I was really hoping he'd see 20, but he had kidney cancer. So
Beautiful cat. Beautiful cat.
he
It's
was,
kind of, oh, quit.
no, he was my buddy. He was definitely my cat soulmate.
And you know what? And now that you bring that up, it reminds me of kind of a sad story. My mother had a cat that lived to be 16 as well. It was a female cat, almost all white, had a black tail. She called it Sissy, and she loved that cat, but it stayed outside most of the time. It was an outside cat. She lived in suburban neighborhood, but the cat disappeared. And so, naturally thinking, well, maybe they went off and died. It was too late. They found out later some coyotes had
Yeah,
infested the neighborhood. So I guess my public service announcement to my audience, and you probably maybe can back me up, be very careful leaving your pet outside because there are predators out there.
absolutely. There's all kinds of predators. There's dogs. So, there's a lot of dogs that are free roaming. There's owls. There's, some
Hawks, eagles,
we'll get smaller cats and certainly coyotes. There's lots of things that can get them. So yeah, when they live outside like that, then, they live to an average of about 8 to 10 years, where indoors, nowadays they're living 18 to 20 years. So they're living
Wow.
quite a long lifetime indoors, because they're not going to get hit by cars. They're not going to catch deadly diseases from other cats. They're not going to be attacked by other cats or dogs or eaten by predators. There's just so many things that can happen to them outside. So definitely better to keep them inside.
Yeah, you be very, very careful.
Yeah.
So what would be your recommendation? Let's just say there's somebody watching this right now, and maybe they don't have a pet, don't have a cat, or never owned a cat. Number one, here's several parts to the question. Number, where would you suggest they go to get their cat, adopt their cat? And number two, how would you say, cat-proof their house or prepare for the cat to come into their house?
Well, I absolutely recommend you go to your local shelter. You know,
Okay.
shelters are busting at the seams with animals, and a lot of shelters are having to euthanize just simply because they don't have
Mm,
space to house the number of
yeah.
perfectly adoptable pets coming in the door. So please give an animal a chance at life and go to your local shelter and adopt there. Now, a cat is going to need a big litter box. Usually the ones they sell commercially are not big enough. So you can go to the dollar store and just get a big storage box. It's nice and low and open. Don't do a covered one. If you have more than one cat, you need one more litter box than numbers of cats. So if you have two cats, you need three litter boxes.
Really? So I did not know that. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Oh,
and they need to be spread out in the home. They can't all be clustered up together in
together.
the
I
utility
see.
room together. They've got to be spread out. They need, as we talked earlier, a tall scratching post, right? They've got to have a way to get that back stretch, get a
Mm-hmm.
really tall one, get a really long horizontal one, so they've got lots of choices. Get good wand toys so you can play with them. They should be getting about 10 minutes of
You can
play.
make one of these.
You can make your own, absolutely. Now, one thing you wanna do is you wanna put that up when you're not playing with the cat,
Yeah, absolutely.
so that it remains novel and it's
It
exciting
will.
if you bring it up. Yeah, that's funny. I say you wanna get canned food. It's really better if you feed your cat canned food, not a dry food
The
diet.
wet, like what they call the wet food.
Right,
Okay.
right. So feed your cat canned food. Feed your cat frequently. You know, in the wild, they're going to eat 10 small meals a day. So if we
Mm,
only
okay.
feed a cat twice a day, that's like us eating every second or third day. It's
Oh,
going to get
wow.
really hungry between meals. Their stomachs are pretty small. So feed them small meals as frequently as you can. Love them a lot. Don't try to punish them. Pay attention to what it is they're doing that's annoying you and
Uh-huh.
understand what of those behaviors are natural, you know, and try to facilitate that in a way that you both can tolerate, right? So
Sure, absolutely.
those would be the essentials.
You mentioned cat food earlier. The cans is better, like they call the wet food better than the dry food. Is there a particular brand that stands out? Will any of them do, or is there a particular brand that maybe is better for your cat's health than others?
You know, when you go to the pet food store, if you're going to like Petco or PetSmart, it's like the grocery store. There's a junk food aisle and then there's a
Yeah.
quality food aisle.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you'll be able to orient yourself by nothing else than pricing, if that's all right. It's like the difference between fresh vegetables and potato chips. But you want to make sure that you're feeding your cat a low carb diet and pay attention because grain free doesn't often mean low carb.
Okay.
I did a webinar just this last weekend on cat nutrition, and it's out on my YouTube channel now. So if you watch that, great information on what cats need to thrive and what you should feed your cat.
Okay. That's perfect. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, for cats owners now and for future cat owners, make sure you hit Molly Devoss's website. I'll bring that website up again. That is www.catbehaviorsolutions.org. And as she mentioned earlier, there is a wealth of information out there. Let me bring it up again. This is what you get. All the things that she covered uh, earlier, and specifically behavior consultation. So I guess my public service announcement is this: don't get rid of your cat, don't throw it out.
Right.
Give it a chance. Maybe again we're the human, so maybe it's something that we're doing. Correct?
Always what people are doing. It's usually our failure to provide an environment that the cat can, you know, exhibit its natural behaviors in a way that's acceptable to both us and the cat. That's really what it gets down to almost all the time. Almost all the time.
Absolutely. So when they go to your website and they make an appointment, do they email you? Then you email them back to schedule like a consultation or like a
Yeah.
phone call or a Zoom? How do you prefer you do your consultations?
Yep. If you go to the website on that consultations page, it describes all about how the process works and what you need to do and that sort of thing. And then I usually do most of them by Zoom, kind of like this. And then usually you'll be on a mobile laptop and you'll take me around the house and show me the cat's thing,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on, and describe the issue. And I'll ask you 1,000 questions. Once you first apply for the consultation, then you're sent a link to a form that kind of gives me all the background information about what's going on. So, yeah. Usually you can find, if you're a good do-it-yourself person, you can find the answer to most all of your questions in the material I've put together on the site. But I'm more than happy to do consults also.
And you do just here in the United States, or do you do Canada, overseas even as
Oh, yeah.
well?
Internationally,
Really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
during our cat nutrition webinar just a couple days ago, gosh, we had someone there from Italy and Argentina and
Really? Oh,
oh,
wow.
Canada. Yeah, I reach a global audience. So absolutely, where you are doesn't impede my ability to help you.
That is awesome, and I appreciate what you're doing, Molly. You don't know, we'll never know just how many cats you have saved in your life from not just euthanasia, of course, but I'm talking about maybe people that just and you've heard the story. They get so frustrated with their pet, they just want to get rid of it. They think in the worst case scenario, they move away, leave the pet behind to fend for itself, but that's never usually a good ending.
No, no, it's not, because the poor cats, they're not used, if a cat's lived indoors its whole life, you've got to transition it to living outside. It can't just go out there and fend on its own when it's used to getting meals and not used to hunting. It'll need supplemental food and things like that. So kicking a cat out is not a great solution at all.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, just don't give up on your cat. Whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching this days, weeks, months, years from now, contact Molly Devoss, and I guarantee you she can find a solution that's not only good for you, but good for your cat and good for both of you.
That's right.
So,
When it's good for your cat, it's good for both of you.
absolutely, if you want to live together for sure. And
That's
ladies, that is www.catbehaviorsolutions.org. Molly, I appreciate you being on the show tonight. I've learned a lot myself, and I say Oreo has too, but now she is sound asleep.
she's bored. She was like, "You guys weren't paying attention to me. I'm just gonna go."
She is sacked out on the other side of my desk over here. Her eyes are shut, and I think she's done whatever. I think yours is too, right?
He's been asleep up there this whole time. Didn't even make a cameo appearance.
Well, Molly, thank you very much for the work you do, and good luck to you as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show, Bob.
Have a great night.
You too.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. Thank you for tuning in. Learned a lot about cat behavior tonight, and make sure you like this video. If you like the information Molly gave you tonight, like that button. And if you're not a subscriber already, whether you're a newcomer or you've been watching these shows, hit that subscribe button and you'll definitely see some future events coming up soon. So would love to have you, and tuning in and see what's going to come on next week. You never know what you're going to get, hence the word variety. Now, I want to reiterate something I said at the beginning of the program. For those of you watching live, this coming Saturday, October the 15th, 2022, I will be in Jefferson, Texas. There is the annual Bigfoot convention there, all about cryptids and the unknown. It'll be at the Jefferson Visitor Center in Jefferson, Texas. I will be there along with the host that you know from Texas Front Porch, as well as other YouTube channels that'll be there. And you can meet me in person, Bob Van Buren yourself, if you like. I will be this Saturday, October 15th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Central at the Jalapeno Tree in Marshall, Texas. So you can meet me and other YouTubers there. So we would love to see you, our fans, people that kept track of us, people that subscribe to us. If you want to talk to me and tell me my show's great, love a good pat on the back. Hey, if you want to tell me, hey, Bob, your show stinks, I can take it. So just be there, all right? So until then, I will see you next week. This is Bob Van Buren for the Van Buren Variety Show. Had a great night, everybody, and you hope you have a great week. Good night.